So come with me this morning. I'm in Capitol Reef National Park. I'm going to be taking a walk up there, and I'm going to be describing an Octave Resonance Healing Approach to hiking. So what is the Octave Resonance Healing Approach? So it's a fourfold way of looking holographically at anything. So the thing that I'm looking at today is this hike. So there's a 4-level approach. So the physical level on this hike is that I'm looking with my physical senses at the trail markers. I don't know if the signs, it says carry water over there. Where's it? Say carry water. You can see the parking lot over there. It's a beautiful morning. So on the physical level, I'm just looking at the outer forces. I mean, not the outer forces, the outer physical rocks and trees and shrubs, just the physical appearance of them, and planning my physical route. So I'm going to do this Cohab Canyon Trail. I'm just going to walk up there a little bit and then walk back. Okay, the next octave up is the octave of life force. And rocks, like those beautiful mountainy rock things up there, you wouldn't say that they have a life force, but I think that there is a fourfold nature of everything. It's like it's a fractal. You can just go deeper and wider into it. So the life force of this trail is things that are living. And if you think of like the astronauts' view of the Earth, they have this spiritual experience when they look down on the Earth because it looks alive. It's not a pile of rocks. It's alive. So as I'm hiking up this trail, there's the trail I'm hiking up, I tune in to the fact that the Earth is alive, and I participate with it in the philosophic sense of that word. Participate means to merge in one sense of the word. So a way to get into that is to feel the humidity, feel the wind, notice the clouds, things that move, things that change in the landscape. And that puts me in touch with the life force. And then if you time travel and collapse, you can see the eons of time of erosion here. And I can tune in historically to all the living forces that created all those erosion patterns. And that's the life force there too. We also have the traffic, and that's moving, right? So it's moving, it's changing, it's creating flows in the that have ripples that go out from them. There's also a river down there, the Fremont River. You can't see it, but it's just down there where all those trees are. And that's definitely flowing and actually continuing the erosion and the evolution of this landscape. So we've done the physical and life force. Now, how do you get into the octave of emotions and images while you're going on a hike? So stay tuned for that. Okay, I'm up a little further, and this explanation of the fourfold octave resonance approach to taking a hike is, of course, not going to be encyclopedic. It's just to get you thinking holistically and relating to the deeper aspects of things, the whole aspect of things. So in the octave of emotions and images, how do we do that on a hike? So we can think of our own emotions, we can think of our own memories, but that's kind of personal about me. So where is the octave of emotions and images in that beautiful cliff over there, or the parking lot down there, or in this really cool tree thing here? I would suggest that they are not incarnated in the rocks anymore, that they are they're astral, they are star forces, they are much broader consciousnesses, like the consciousnesses of the laws of physics and the laws of nature. that these actually have a consciousness that imagines things into form, imagines things into shape. So as I walk, here's these volcanic rocks here that are the result, these black rocks are a result of, volcanic activity a gazillion years ago. I can tap into that and tap into those ancient forces that have, it's like the astral field of the rocks is not incarnated in them, but it doesn't mean it's not present in an unincarnated way. And me, since my emotions and images are in my biology, I can tap into them. And so can you. We're kind of doing it unconsciously all the time. And just to become a little more conscious of it can be quite surprising. You just sit and talk to a rock and it actually does talk back. Often in the forms of feelings or images, not in the forms of like conversation. Although, it usually comes first as a feeling or an image, and then I interpret it, with my words. But so I might get some downloads here on this hike. I don't know yet. All right, so now the next octave up is the spiritual. So I'll walk along and think about what to say about that. Okay, the spiritual level. A less religious sounding level name for this is the octave of higher awareness. So it's the part of us that can witness the emotions, that can witness the images, that can derive meaning from anything. And I would call that a spiritual awareness or level. So what's the spiritual level of this hike? So you can look at it, it just depends on what you look at, right? What you focus on. So for me, the spiritual part of this for me is I'm communicating with you with my thinking. So that's a spiritual activity. It's also the meaning of this video is that I'm finally doing this Octave Resonance Healing Approach to something other than healing cancer or something like that. That it's to really show that it's an approach. It's not a technique. It's a way to categorize our existence into 4 levels that allow us to more holistically interact with life, which is a fuller, truer way than just taking a little piece of the life and saying, "Oh, that's what's real." Like often we do that with the physical. We just say, "Oh, what's real about this hike is that trail, and the rocks and the trees and the sky, and maybe the light on those mountains over there. That's what's real." Well, that's what's really physical, but there's other real things that are real. And our octave of higher awareness is also real. So if I was going to take the point of view of the trail, I would say that everything we do leaves an effect. Like every thought is a thing, every footstep is a thing. So this trail is trod by lots and lots of tourists every year. This is a national park, Capitol Reef, right? And when I walk here, it feels like a temple because people are in such awe of the beauty, and they've traveled a long ways to be here, and it's exciting for people to walk these trails because it's just so beautiful. And they leave a trace of that I can observe with my spiritual eyes and my understanding and my thinking. And I can then go down and feel into it, and then I can go down and thank the earth and the wind and the sky for embracing it. And then I can watch where I step so that I don't trip. But my sense is that the love that all the people that hike on this trail exude while they're appreciating and being grateful for the beauty is held in the rocks. It's held in the trees, in the bushes. And that is a spiritual holding. It's hard to describe, but I sense it nonetheless. And maybe you do too. Maybe in the chat you can tell me what you think about how rocks and mountains and inanimate objects have a spiritual component to them. Oh, here we go. I remember what to say. So in the olden times, humanity had a more participatory consciousness, and they would look at a tree like this one, and they wouldn't see the leaves and the branches. They might be a blur, but they might more so see the aura around the tree and the spiritual being expressing itself through the tree. And I feel like modern humanity is coming full circle. We're returning to that ability to participate fully with the psychological, with the soul forces, and with the spiritual dimensions of everything. And as a result, but we're not doing it in a tribal, automatic way. We're freely able to enter that perspective and then leave that perspective. We're not just bound by it, by our biology. We're able to do it in freedom. And this is a very exciting time to be alive as humanity, or forget humanity, as I'm waking up to this multidimensional way of operating, which gives me a lot of joy and a lot of power. Yeah, I can do a lot of things a lot of people can't, and I attribute it a lot to this fourfold way of including all the octaves in just about anything I do. All right, so I'm gaining in elevation here, and more thoughts about the spiritual dimension of this hike. The lower part of the spiritual level octave is thinking, but there's a lot of spiritual impulses that are beyond our conscious thought. So it's not like thinking is spiritual. Well, it is, but spiritual is not just thinking. And one repercussion or spiritual effect or involvement with this hike is that I feel deeply renewed after I hike a trail like this. And I can't quite put it into words. It's different than having a workout at a gym. It's different than walking in the suburbs with just as many steps or physical activity. There is a spiritual presence that, I don't know, I bathe in. Not even quite sure what it is, because I'm not conscious of it. It's beyond my conscious mind. But I do feel its effects in the sense of vitality, of renewal, that feels deeper and stronger than just like a workout. So that's another aspect of the spiritual part of this hike. I'm still reaching for how to explain the impact of me hiking on the spiritual dimension of this landscape. Because I'm so incarnated, it's a little hard to flip into the perspective of the spirit of this landscape, which is not really in the dimension of time and space, maybe time, but not space, and how to relate to that. I think the way I do it is I just open to the possibility. And then sometimes I'll get a little download and an understanding and a meaning, and sometimes I just feel better. It's that simple. I know that when I heal people, like I've helped, I routinely help people cool down hot cancerous tumors. And often the moment of the most tremendous healing, I actually feel nothing. Like there's no wind blowing, there's no bells and whistles, the chi isn't moving. It's silent. So a way for me to connect with the spiritual dimension of what's offered on this hike might be just to be quiet. So, and go on, like right now I can hear the river down below. There's a little bit of wind. If I just get quiet, something arises out of the landscape that just isn't there if I'm busy walking and, managing my hiking poles and all that kind of thing. So Yeah, so what do you think about the spiritual dimension of a hike? And like, it's different than emotions. It's different than your imagination. It's like spiritual is not the same for me as non-physical. Like there's lots of ways to categorize the non-physical. It's the part of us that can witness, or the part of this landscape that can witness. So, and be conscious, higher awareness. Okay, I think that's enough for today about the spiritual. I'm gonna keep hiking up this thing, and which itself feels like a spiritual quest somehow, climbing up to the peak of the trail, and just sort of letting that journey imprint me in some sort of unconscious way of my willingness to go to the peak of freedom, of awareness, symbolically with the hike. So yeah, I'll just take some pictures, maybe attach them to the video so you can see more of the pretty scenery. Starting to warm up a bit. I'm on my way back down now. Thought of another thing with the spiritual. So as I was walking along, my mind was wandering, and just thinking about relationships and things to do and that. And I would classify that as a spiritual activity too. The ruminating about issues, I don't know if that's spiritual, maybe the lower end of the spiritual, but the awareness of what I'm ruminating about and what I'm creating. Rumination is where it just goes over and over and over again. Nothing really is resolved. Creating is like when I'm letting new ideas come to me, solutions to problems, ways to approach situations that are helpful. That's a spiritual activity that I think is facilitated by this place. I think it really, that's part of the renewal, is you get ideas, you release things, you finish things that that maybe weren't finished before. So I just wanted to add that little bit about the spiritual. And yeah, so now you've gone on this hike with me, the Octave Resonance Healing Approach, the fourfold approach, the physical, where we just look at the environment, look at the physical stuff with our physical senses, the life force, the chi level of our own bodies, and the chi of the earth, the life force of the earth, the octave of emotions and images, our own images and emotions, and the astral forces that create the rocks and the trees. And then the octave of higher awareness, which is the meaning and the kind of like the place beyond the thinking and beyond thinking that renews us so deeply. And if we don't get that ever, boy, is that a recipe for depression. So because we're not being fed, our lower levels aren't being fed by these ineffable forces. So yeah, so hiking is a spiritual activity, but it's also a life force and emotional and physical activity. Okay, bye-bye.